Welcome to Heartline Stories. Today's story follows Carly, a determined woman who gets an offer she can't refuse from a billionaire CEO. He promises never to fall in love with her, but one night changes everything. Will Carly be able to stick to her path, or will love and ambition mix in ways she never expected? What will happen next? You won't believe the twists that follow. Let us know where you're watching from, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You don't want to miss what happens next. There was a billionaire CEO named Matthew Carter. He owned one of the biggest tech companies in the country. Matthew had always told himself that he would never fall in love with anyone, especially not someone like Carly Miller, the new assistant at his company. Carly was just an ordinary woman. She didn't come from money, nor did she have an impressive title or a fancy background. She was smart, hardworking, and always kept a positive attitude, even when things were tough. Matthew admired her work ethic, but he had promised himself that he would never get involved with anyone from his company. One evening, after a long and tiring day, Matthew was working late in his office. Carly was the only one still there. She came in to drop off some papers, and their eyes met. There was something in the way she looked at him that made him feel uneasy. "Is everything all right, Carly?" Matthew asked, noticing she looked a bit tired. "I'm fine, Mr. Carter," Carly said with a soft smile. "I just wanted to finish up some work before heading home." Matthew nodded, but something inside him felt a little off. He had always respected Carly, but tonight he felt a strange pull toward her, something he had never felt before. He looked at her more closely, her gentle smile, her hard-working attitude, and the way she cared for the people around her. In that moment, something inside Matthew shifted. "Carly," he started, but before he could finish, his phone buzzed. It was a message from his mother, reminding him to attend a family dinner the next day. Matthew realized he had to go home soon, but his mind kept drifting back to Carly. She was still standing in front of him, organizing her papers, and he couldn't help but notice how beautiful she looked in the soft light of the office. "Do you want to grab a coffee before you leave?" Matthew asked, surprising himself with his words. Carly paused and looked at him, surprised. "I, I'd like that," she said softly. They walked to a nearby cafe, and for the first time, Matthew felt completely at ease with someone who wasn't trying to impress him or be in his world. They talked about their families, their favorite movies, and their hopes for the future. Matthew found himself laughing and sharing more than he ever had with anyone. As the evening wore on, Carly noticed how different Matthew seemed. He wasn't the stiff, business-focused CEO she had seen in the office. He was just a man, someone who had a heart and feelings. She realized that maybe, just maybe, she was starting to feel something for him too. The night ended with a long conversation outside the cafe, where Matthew walked Carly back to her apartment. "Thank you for the coffee," Carly said with a smile. "It was nice to get to know the real you." Matthew paused. "I enjoyed it too, Carly. Maybe, maybe we should do this again sometime." And just as Carly turned to walk into her building, Matthew felt his heart race. The promise he had made to never fall in love with anyone, especially someone from his company, suddenly felt meaningless. The next day at work, everything was different. Matthew's feelings for Carly had grown stronger. He tried to ignore them, but every time he saw her, it was like something was pulling him toward her. He had spent years building his company, focusing only on work, but now, all he could think about was Carly. Later that afternoon, Matthew invited Carly to his office. She stepped inside and Matthew stood by his desk, looking at her with a serious expression. "Carly," he started, "I know I promised myself I wouldn't fall for anyone in this company, but I don't think I can keep that promise anymore. I've, I've developed feelings for you. I can't stop thinking about you." Carly's heart raced. She hadn't expected this at all. She had felt the connection too, but she had always assumed it was just a fantasy. She stood there stunned, unsure of what to say. "Matthew, I don't know what to say," she whispered, looking at him. "I've been trying to ignore how I feel too, but it's complicated." Matthew walked closer, his voice gentle. "I know it's complicated, but I'm willing to take the risk if you are." As the days passed, their connection only grew stronger. Carly knew she had to make a choice. Would she continue to keep her feelings hidden, or would she take the leap into the unknown with Matthew, knowing that things could change forever? What would she decide? And would Matthew be able to keep his promise? Or was he already falling too deep in love with her? Matthew and Carly spent the next few days thinking deeply about their feelings. Neither of them had ever expected something like this to happen. Matthew had always been so focused on his work and his promise not to get involved with anyone, and especially someone in his company. But now that promise didn't seem to matter as much. Carly, on the other hand, had always kept her emotions in check. She didn't want to risk complicating her career or stepping into a world that was so different from hers. But when Matthew had confessed his feelings, something inside her changed. One evening, after another long day at the office, Carly was getting ready to leave. She grabbed her bag, hoping to get some fresh air. As she was walking out the door, Matthew called her name. "Carly, can we talk?" he asked, his voice quieter than usual. Carly turned around to see him standing by the door of his office, looking nervous. She felt her heart skip a beat. Something was different. "Sure," she said, walking toward him. "I know we've been dancing around this for a while," Matthew said, stepping closer. "But I can't keep pretending that this isn't real. I want to see where this goes, Carly. I'm willing to take a chance. Are you?" Carly took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change everything. She looked into Matthew's eyes and saw nothing but sincerity. "I'm scared, Matthew," she admitted, "but I feel it too. I don't want to ignore it anymore." Matthew smiled, relief washing over him. He gently took her hand and led her back to his office, where they could talk privately. They spent the next few hours discussing everything, how they felt, their fears, and what the future might look like if they chose to be together. By the end of their conversation, they had made a decision. They would take the risk. They would give their relationship a chance, no matter how complicated it might get. But they both knew there would be challenges ahead. The company, the rumors, the expectations. There were many obstacles they would face, but they were ready to face them together. As the weeks passed, Carly and Matthew grew closer. They found joy in the little moments, sharing lunch, talking about their dreams, laughing over silly things. But there was still one thing hanging over them. What would the rest of the world think? One morning, Carly was sitting at her desk when she overheard two employees gossiping. "Did you hear? Matthew Carter is dating Carly Miller. Can you believe it?" "Yeah, I heard. It's so risky. He's the CEO, and she's just an assistant. What's he thinking?" Carly felt a knot form in her stomach. She had always been afraid of the gossip and judgment. Later that day, Matthew noticed she seemed off. When they had a quiet moment together, he asked her what was wrong. "I overheard something today," Carly said, looking down at her hands. "People are talking about us. They think it's a mistake." Matthew's face softened. He knew this wouldn't be easy. "Carly," he said gently, "I'm not asking you to ignore what people think. But I want you to know that this is real. What we have is real, and it's worth fighting for." Carly looked into his eyes and saw the truth in his words. She had been so afraid of what others thought, but now she realized it didn't matter. What mattered was how they felt about each other. The next day, Matthew called for a meeting with the top executives at the company. He stood up in front of everyone and, with Carly by his side, made an announcement. "I know there has been some talk about my relationship with Carly Miller," he said, "but I want everyone to know that we are choosing to be together, and we will continue to do our jobs as professionals. This relationship won't affect our work, and we ask for your support." There was silence in the room. Everyone was waiting for a reaction. Finally, one of the senior managers spoke up. "Matthew, we've seen how hard you both work. If you're happy, we're happy for you," she said with a smile. The room erupted into applause, and for the first time in weeks, Carly felt a sense of relief. Maybe this wouldn't be so difficult after all. But just as things seemed to be falling into place, an unexpected challenge appeared. One morning, while Carly was at work, she received a call. The voice on the other end was unfamiliar. "Hello, is this Carly Miller?" the voice asked. "This is David Bennett from Bennett Enterprises. I'm calling about an investment opportunity that could change your life. I believe your unique skills could help us develop a new tech project. Would you be interested in discussing this further?" Carly's heart raced. Was this a scam, or was this real? And more importantly, what did it mean for her relationship with Matthew? She had always dreamed of working in tech, But this was bigger than she could have imagined. Would she take the opportunity? Would it change everything, including her relationship with Matthew? Carly sat there, her phone still pressed against her ear. David Bennett from Bennett Enterprises. She couldn't believe it. Was this some kind of sign? An opportunity like this might never come again. But then her thoughts quickly turned to Matthew. What would he think? They had just started something new together, and now she was facing a huge decision. If she took this opportunity, it could change everything. It could take her away from the company, from Matthew. Could their relationship survive that? Carly? David's voice interrupted her thoughts. Are you still there? She blinked and took a deep breath. Yes, I'm here. I'm just surprised. This sounds like a great opportunity, but I need some time to think about it. Of course, I completely understand, David said. Take all the time you need. But when you're ready, we can discuss the details. After the call ended, Carly sat there in silence. Her heart raced and her mind swirled with thoughts. She loved Matthew and was happy with him, but she had also always dreamed of doing something bigger, something more challenging. She knew she couldn't make this decision alone. She had to talk to him. The next evening after work, Carly met Matthew for dinner at their favorite restaurant. They sat in a cozy corner booth, and as usual, Matthew ordered for both of them. Carly couldn't focus on the menu. Her mind was still on the phone call. Finally, after a few minutes of silence, Carly spoke up. Matthew, I've been given a really big opportunity, she said, looking him in the eye. Matthew raised an eyebrow. What kind of opportunity? A job offer, a huge one. From Bennett Enterprises, Carly said. They want me to join their tech team and work on a new project. It's the kind of job I've always dreamed about. Matthew listened intently, but his face remained neutral. He didn't say anything at first, so Carly continued. I don't know what to do. It's a great opportunity, but it would mean leaving the company and leaving you. I would be working in a different place, doing something completely different. Matthew leaned back in his chair, processing everything she said. After a long pause, he finally spoke. I can't tell you what to do, Carly, he said gently. I know how important this is to you, and I want you to do what's best for your future. But I also want you to know that I'm here for you, no matter what. If this opportunity is what you need, then go for it. I will always support you. Carly felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She had always been afraid of taking risks, but Matthew's words gave her the courage to take the leap. I'm not leaving you, Matthew, she said, her voice soft but certain. I'm just trying to follow my dreams, and I need to see where this path leads. But I want us to be together, no matter what happens. Matthew smiled, his eyes full of warmth. You're a strong woman, Carly. I admire you so much. I want to be there for you, whatever you decide. The next day, Carly made the call to David Bennett and accepted the job offer. She knew it was the right move for her, and she felt a sense of excitement and nervousness all at once. But she also knew that her relationship with Matthew would remain strong, no matter where life took them. As the weeks went by, Carly threw herself into her new role at Bennett Enterprises. She was challenged in ways she never thought possible, but she loved every moment of it. The team was supportive, and her skills were finally being recognized. But with all the changes happening in her life, she couldn't forget about Matthew. They made time for each other, even though their lives had become busier. They still had dinner dates, late-night conversations, and moments of laughter. It was clear that their bond was growing stronger, even as they followed different paths. One evening, as Carly was working late in her office, she received a text from Matthew. How's everything going? I'm so proud of you. Carly smiled and quickly typed a response. It's going great, but I miss you. Can we have dinner tomorrow night? The next day, they met at their favorite restaurant again. Carly couldn't help but feel a sense of happiness when she saw Matthew waiting for her at the table. They talked about their work, their dreams, and their future. It was clear that no matter where their careers took them, they would always make time for each other. But as they were leaving the restaurant, Carly couldn't shake the feeling that something big was coming, something she wasn't prepared for. And then it happened. As they were walking out, a man in a suit approached them. His face was serious, and he looked like he had something important to say. Are you Matthew Carter? The man asked, looking at Matthew. Matthew turned to face him, his expression guarded. Yes, I am. What is this about? The man handed Matthew an envelope and said, You need to read this. It's urgent. Carly and Matthew exchanged confused glances as he opened the envelope. As soon as he read the letter inside, his face turned pale. Carly, Matthew said, his voice trembling, we need to talk. Matthew carefully folded the letter, his hands slightly shaking as he tucked it back into the envelope. Carly felt a knot form in her stomach. She had never seen Matthew like this before. Serious, uneasy, as if something heavy was on his mind. What is it, Matthew? Carly asked softly, sensing the change in the air. He looked at her, his eyes filled with confusion and uncertainty. I don't know. This letter, it's from Bennett Enterprises. Carly's heart skipped a beat. Bennett Enterprises? The same company where she had just started her new job. What's it say? Matthew exhaled sharply, his voice quieter now. It's an offer, an opportunity. But it's for you, Carly. Her breath caught in her throat. What do you mean? I mean, they want you, but not just in the tech department. They want you to lead a major project, a game changer, Matthew said, running a hand through his hair. This could take you to the top, Carly, the top of the company. But, he paused, his words trailing off. Carly's thoughts raced. But what? Matthew hesitated. But the offer isn't just a job, Carly. They're offering you a chance to take over part of the company, make decisions. I think this might be a test to see if you'll go further than just the tech side. It could mean, well, a lot more than we thought. It's big, really big. Carly blinked, trying to process the weight of what Matthew was saying. Why would they send it to you then? Matthew sighed. I think they wanted to make sure you had someone in your corner. I'm guessing they think I'll be your support, your guide in all of this. Her mind spun with the possibilities. This wasn't just a job. It was a turning point in her life, one that could change everything. She had always dreamed of taking charge, but she never imagined it would happen so soon, and certainly not this way. But why me? Carly whispered, feeling overwhelmed. Why not someone else? I don't know, Matthew admitted, but maybe they see something in you, something I see in you too. Carly looked at him, her heart pounding. Matthew's support meant everything to her. But this was something she would have to do alone. It was her decision. She knew she couldn't just accept it without thinking. The path she was standing on was uncertain, but it felt like it could be the key to her dreams. I need some time to think about this, Matthew, she said, her voice steady but filled with uncertainty. This is a lot to take in. Of course, he said, his voice soft but full of understanding. Take all the time you need. For the next few days, Carly couldn't stop thinking about the letter. The opportunity was so tempting. It could give her everything she ever wanted. Power, influence, the chance to shape her future. But it also meant stepping into a world that was completely unknown, and she wasn't sure she was ready for that kind of responsibility. Meanwhile, Matthew noticed her distraction. He could tell she was struggling with something, but he didn't want to pressure her. He knew this was a decision she needed to make for herself. That night, they sat on the couch, the glow of the television flickering in the background, but neither of them was really paying attention. Carly turned to him and said, Matthew, I've been thinking about everything, this offer. It's huge, but it's also terrifying. What if I fail? Matthew smiled gently. Carly, you won't fail. I believe in you, and I'm not going anywhere. Whatever you choose, I'm with you. Carly's heart swelled at his words. It felt like the perfect moment to make a choice, but she couldn't shake the fear of what it might mean. I need to go and talk to David Bennett, Carly said suddenly. I need to ask him exactly what this all means. I need to know if this is really what I want. Matthew nodded, his expression serious but supportive. I'm proud of you, Carly. You'll figure this out. The next morning, Carly made her way to Bennett Enterprises. She walked into the sleek, glass-walled office, where David Bennett was waiting for her. He was standing by the large window, looking out over the city. Carly, he said, turning as she entered, I'm glad you came. I know this is a big decision, but I wanted to be upfront with you. Carly stood straight and looked him in the eye. I need to know what you want from me. What does this really mean? David nodded, his expression serious. We're looking for someone who can lead, Carly. Someone who has vision, who isn't afraid to take risks. You have that, and we think you're the perfect fit to help us move forward. Carly listened carefully, her heart racing. This was what she had dreamed of, a chance to be more than just a worker in the tech department. But as the conversation continued, she couldn't help but feel the weight of the decision pressing down on her. What do I need to do? She asked, her voice steady. David smiled. It's simple, really. We want you to take the reins. You'll have a team, support, everything you need. But it's up to you how far you want to go. We'll be here for the ride. As Carly walked out of Bennett Enterprises that afternoon, her mind was spinning. This was it, the moment that would change everything. But she wasn't sure where it would lead. As Carly sat in her car outside Bennett Enterprises, her hands gripped the steering wheel. The offer from David Bennett was tempting. He had painted a picture of success, growth, and influence. But she still wasn't sure if she was ready for the weight of all that responsibility. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, thinking about the path ahead. She thought about Matthew's support, the way he had stood by her through everything, and how much he believed in her. But this wasn't just about him. This was her decision, her future. The next morning, Carly arrived at Bennett Enterprises, ready to make her decision. As soon as she walked into the building, David Bennett greeted her with a smile. Well, Carly, what's your choice? He asked, his voice calm but eager. Carly looked him in the eye, her mind made up. I'm ready. I'll take the position. David's smile widened. I knew you had it in you. Later that evening, Carly sat with Matthew at their favorite coffee shop, reflecting on the path she was about to take. Matthew reached across the table, taking her hand in his. I'm so proud of you, Carly. You made the right choice, he said, his voice full of pride. Carly smiled, feeling a rush of excitement and fear all at once. I hope so. It's a big step, but I feel ready. With your support, I think I can handle whatever comes next. They spent the rest of the evening talking about what the future might look like, both of them filled with hope for what was to come. Carly knew that the journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but she had made her choice. With Matthew by her side and her new opportunity at Bennett Enterprises, she was ready to take on the world. As the days passed, Carly settled into her new role. She worked hard, built a team she trusted, and slowly began to gain the respect of her colleagues. The company grew under her leadership, and soon she found herself at the top, exactly where David Bennett had promised she could be. And through it all, Matthew remained by her side, supporting her every step of the way. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, and Carly knew that, no matter what, they would face the future together. In the end, Carly's decision to take a leap of faith had paid off. Not only had she found success, but she had found something even more valuable: her own confidence, her sense of purpose, and the love and support of the people who mattered most. The future was hers to shape, and Carly knew she would never let fear stand in her way again. Thank you for joining us on this Heartline story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You never know what could be waiting around the corner. Will Carly's success continue? Stay tuned for more inspiring tales.